Hello, this is Cheryl Smith with Heartland Stamping, and today we are working in the Color My World group. The Color My World group is for anyone in my downline. It's a perk for you and those who have signed up for a kit during Color My World, which focuses on the in colors for each year. This collection is the 2026 through 2028 color or in colors, and we're working with Barely Blush today. So Barely Blush is a lovely light color. I'm going to show you in a little bit. It's not the best for stamping sayings, but it is great for flowers and just that light, subtle background. I've seen some really, really lovely wedding cards done with this and baby cards, as you can imagine. So it is not that super standout, look at me, but it is that great background lending support and just providing that subtle hint of color. So it's a much quieter but still very lovely color. So today, those of you who ordered this kit, you are going to get a card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, and that's in the Barely Blush. You will have 4 pieces of designer series paper, and that comes from the Bloom Boutique specialty designer series paper. And it's specialty because, I don't know if you can see that, but there are little foiled images on there, some flowers. So you'll get 4 of those. There should be 4 of these little 3/4 inch basic white squares, a 3 1/4 inch basic white square to put everything on, and then we have a mat that's 3 1/2 inch square, and that's in the hydrangea. We have a 2.5 by 5 inch piece of designer series paper in your kit, and I'm going to show you a little tip that you can use if you're running short on paper, just a way to make that stretch and go farther. And then this piece is for the inside. It's that 4 7/8 by 3 5/8. And if you cut it right, you can get 5 pieces of that off 1 piece of cardstock. This little strip is 3 5/8 by 1/2 inch, and that will go down at the bottom just to kind of add some little pretty sparkly bits to the inside, because that has the foiling on it too. So let's set that over here out of the way. And we're going to focus on how do we make our front. And I did not lead with this. I should have. This is a Quilter's Star card. And I got the measurements from, Beth Rice. I know I left off part of her name because there's 3 names. Hold on. I've got that down at the bottom here. Gail Beth Rice. So, and I got them off of a Facebook group that I can't share the link with you, but she did a great job. And I know if you look on YouTube, there will be, alternates to this. And there are a lot of quilter type cards, so search for those too. All right, you're going to need a little ruler of some kind or something with a straight edge. And we're going to need a pencil. All right, got my little mechanical pencil here. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your white square and you're going to line that straight edge, whatever you have. And you're just going to do a little pencil line there. And then you're going to do that again. Line that up on that corner, line that up on that corner. And there we go. I'm trying to brush off my pencil line. That's not going to work. So now you have this X in here. So we're going to decide how we want to display our paper. So this one is the same. So as you can see, they're both the same. So you know you're going to do 1 and 1, right? And then I wanted to have another strong color, so this is the Crisp Cantaloupe. And on the other side, it's this one. So you know you're going to have those two. Otherwise, you wouldn't have 4 different ones. Now, you just need to decide how you want to line those up. Do you want those 2 to be together? I think I want those 2 and those 2. So, we'll start with these. And you're going to line them up on either side of that score line, or pencil line, so sorry. And you'll glue them down just like that. So, let's get some glue. And let me make sure. You know what? I'm not even going to put it on the DSP. We're going to leave the DSP the direction it needs to go, and I'm just going to put it on here. Because yesterday I was doing a live, and I put glue on the wrong side. I was really aggravated at myself. And there's a lot of glue in that area, so I'm just going to pick up glue from there, and I'm going to put this on there, just using that excess glue. Trying to scoot that over, but it already started to stick. There we go. All right. Now this one, I'm just going to butt that right up against that one. So you want those 2 touching, but not overlapping. There we go. And you do want the points covered. So I've got pretty close on this end, but you can see that hand has a lot to spare. All right, now let's do that same thing, and we're going to go this direction. So, you know what? Let's just do this. We'll just do 2 at once. So we'll put 1 on this side. And then 1 on this side. And here's a little tip. If you have glue, like I could feel a little bit of glue right there on that edge, you've got 2 choices. If you have an adhesive eraser, and those look like this, and it looks all gunky because it's got little bits of glue on there. And I just will pull those off sometimes. I'll get sick of how it looks and just pull them all off just like that, real easy. It'll work a little bit better. So that's what you can do. After that's dry, you can just rub that on there and it'll take up some of that adhesive. But if you have a really delicate paper and you don't want to worry about that getting messed up, there is something else you can do. Again, after it's dry, there we go. Well, that's being a little bit stubborn right there. I think it's because I didn't give it enough time. There we go. And sometimes I'll try to clean it off right away, but again, it's better if it's dry. So the other trick is to use your embossing buddy. So I've got that in here. I know I showed that on the video, maybe the last one I did, I can't remember. But anywhere there's some adhesive, you can kind of rub that over it. And that'll just kind of take that stickiness away. That little powder in there will stick to that and just nullify it. So it works really good too. Either one of those tips. Okay, so next, what we're going to do is, you can turn this over, or you can be brave and do it this way because you are going to cover up those corners, but we're going to turn that over, snip these off. Here we go, last one. Oh, that one wasn't quite straight. Just do it that way. All right. Get rid of those little bits. So this is what you're going to end up with. You've got 2 going this way, 2 going that way. They made a little X in the middle. Now the next piece that we're going to do is we're going to glue these down right in the corner. So I'm going to do a little bit of glue, do a couple at a time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that down to pick some glue up on that corner, and then I'll bring it right back down. And I want to make sure that it's as straight as possible. There we go. I'm going to do that same thing, because I don't want to try to put glue on there and get it out too far. So there's 2, so you can see what it's going to look like. I'll put glue right in this corner. There we go. And one last corner. Get that tiny little square. These were fun to cut for all the kids. It has so many little white squares. I think some of you, I got a little, I don't know, lazy is not the right word, but at the end, some of you, I know you have at least 4, but they were kind of sticking together, so you might have multiple squares. There we go. All right, so after you get those 4 squares on, it is really cool if you run this through an embossing folder. It just kind of sandwiches it together, and it also gives you that little quilted look, because, you know, when things are quilted, you can kind of see little bits that kind of puff up depending on the quilting pattern, and so that is what it can do. I'm not going to do this one right now. Just going to lay it on here so you know that's how it goes on, and then we're going to stamp our saying. And I want to use this as a little background just to lay that on. So let me get some scrap paper, because I wanted to show you just how light, there it is, just how light this is going to be if you stamp it in the Bearly Blush. Let's try that. So we have this little thank you, and that comes from Lovely Arrangements. So let's ink that up. And if you stamp Bearly Blush, leave it on there for a few seconds, you can see it is very pale. So if you're going to do this, I would recommend a saying that's maybe bigger, like one of these, you know, where the font is just a little more substance to it. You have something that is a little smaller and thinner like this one. It's just not going to show up as nicely, because that is a very light ink. But again, stamping little flowers, especially 2-step stamping, along with the crisp cantaloupe, or even, what's the other one I like it with? Not Flirty Flamingo, Cameo. Calypso Coral. See, we had a color ages ago called Cameo Coral, and I still call Calypso Coral Cameo Coral all the time. I can't help it. So we're going to go with one of the other colors that you see a lot in this. We're going to use the Hydrangea, and I'm going to clean this off. If you guys use your Stampin' Mist, I don't use it a ton for the photopolymer, because it can take a little bit of the sticky off. A lot of times I'll just use water, but especially if I'm using Versamark, I use the Stampin' Mist. Remember, if these stamps get to where they don't stick very well, wash them with I put Dawn right on it and rub it in and then rinse it off carefully with some warm water. And I don't do that right in my sink with an open drain, you guys. I do that in a little bowl off to the side because you don't want to fish that out of your garbage disposal, okay? They're slippery and they might just go away. All right, so hydrangea hue. And we'll stamp the thank you. Try to center that as best as possible. Most of the time, I like to stamp first and then die cut. But when I send them to you guys, I like to give you the tips on how to get it centered the best. Make sure you layer it on something so you can clearly see the edges. And then you have a much better chance of getting it straight. All right, so we've got that ready. Got this. I'll finish showing you how to put it together, and then I'm going to go and emboss that. But I carried my emboss machine over to the other side of the room, so I can't just show it here. Try to make the best use of your time. There we go. I'm going to turn it that direction. And so you've got this piece, and you're going to want to notch out just a shallow banner, and I'll show you why. Because it's going to go just about like this. So you wouldn't want your banner notch to go up above this area, like right where that flower is. That's going to be maybe 3/4 of an inch. So just keep that in mind. So your kit has this big piece in it. But what if you want this paper, but you only have this much left or another small amount? What you can do is, now we know up at the top that's only a 1/2 inch or so. So I'm going to cut this at 3/4 of an inch. And I have had things like this happen before, so I've learned how to be sneaky with my paper. And we're going to glue that here and that here because I cut this white piece to be exactly this size. It's 2.5 by 5. So let's put a little adhesive on here. There you go. I'm just pressing lightly because I got a little too heavy on that end. I was too squeezy. Somehow when I start it, I'm always a little too squeezy. Let's just move some of that down there. Flip this around so we can see it. And then we'll put that right up at the top. So that's going to go behind. Now, what I'm going to do is, you can measure this if you want to get it right in the middle, but I think we're just going to eyeball it. I'm going to do this on the back side. Cut right to that corner. Cut right to that corner. And then that will replace that piece. And no one is going to know that it's not a solid piece of paper. So if you're running short on paper and you need to make, 2 more cards, that's what you do. You just make the most of your paper. So let's go back to here. Now I'm going to glue this down, pop that one up. You can see this paper got a little ink on it. I laid it down on top of something, so that's why we're using it as a background piece. It was no longer viable as a standalone piece. I'm going to try to center that as best I can. Then I'm going to put this on here with some dimensionals. Let's grab those. Put those in the corner. Hey, I see Patty is with us. And I see Donna is with us. All right, so I got those pieces all on there. I think I went live in my regular group and not the other group. So you guys enjoy this, but I'll be taking it down and putting it over in the group that it belongs in. You just got a bonus today. All right, all of those are sticky. So put that. What do you think? That look equal? Good to go. All right, now there's our saying. I'm gonna run this over here to the embossing folder. What embossing folder should we use? Let's grab the stack. I've got some. Some of these might be retired, you guys. I don't think I want to use that plaid that we used the other day. That doesn't seem appropriate. Ooh, that one might be kind of pretty. That is, oh, Patty, help me out. What is it? Floral spray, floral bouquet. I can't remember. It's close to one of those. So I could do that. That's a candidate. That is a real candidate. Oh, you know what? I think we're going to use this one. That's going to be great. Okay. I don't even remember if this is still current, but I think it's going to be the best option. You don't want to see how many retired embossing folders I have on my shelf. That's a very large stack. All right, I'm going to take this over here. I'll be right back. Okay. So, I don't know if you can see that at all, but it just adds that little bit of texture to it, and it really kind of presses those together, and it makes it almost look like it's one layer. Whereas these, especially these squares on the end, those were standing up a little and out a little before, and now they really are pressed almost flat. So it's a nice finish to that card. If you have a Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, that's going to work great. But again, it's an option. If you don't have it, it's still going to look just fine without it. All right. So let's put this on. I don't know why I always feel like I need to add extra glue when I'm doing something with an embossing folder. I feel like it just doesn't have the flat on the bottom, so it's going to need more sticking power. Does that make sense? Okay, now here is the other thing. If you love this card and you think, oh, it looks so pretty and I don't want to put this anywhere because it might mess it up. I do like it kind of in the middle. I think it's going to look fine there. But you don't have to put one on the front if you don't want to. You can put this on the inside and it's just going to be fine. So, totally up to you. You want to leave it as it is, put your thing on the inside, you go right ahead. we are going to put this right here. And I purposely didn't put any dimensionals in the middle. Just makes it a little more post office friendly if I don't double up on my dimensionals. What do you think? Is that centered? The nice thing about dimensionals is they're a little more forgiving. I can get away with kind of carefully peeling those up. There's even like a little spatula piece on my take my pick tool, and like how I changed the name. It's take your pick tool, but I take my pick. Oh my goodness. So right in the middle, I think that looks pretty good. And then on the inside, we've got this piece. It's going to go right here, but first, before we put that in, we're going to stick this down. And if you're going to stamp a saying, I had so very much right here, and I thought about putting that on there. Just if I put the thank you on the inside, I was going to say so very much underneath it. But I decided to put it on the front. So I'm going to leave that blank, and then I can just do some handwriting. Hey, I did it without a glob of glue. All right, I don't know why I felt the need to turn that upside down. It really doesn't look that much different. So pretty. See how soft and lovely that Bearly Blush is? I think it's just such a pretty color. There we go. All right. Ooh, I just moved it. Whoops. Okay. Last thing. All right, so I'll be moving this video over into the Color My World group. Hope you all enjoyed it. Get a little sample of what the card kits might be in the Color My World kits. So this was Bearly Blush, and it's just a lovely little color. Hope you all can find a spot for it in your color palette. Thanks for watching, and y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend.